This is a tutorial about the character of Piggy from William Golding's Lord of the Flies. Now, Piggy is one of my favourite characters. He's actually a very likeable character for a couple of reasons. He's very sensible. He is the ideas man on the island. He represents civilization, but also he's a figure of fun for many of the boys and for the reader actually as well. There are some features that are very endearing about Piggy. He's got poor eyesight. He's very proud of his specs. He's got a weight problem. He also has asthma. And he knows that this singles him out from other boys in his school and also from other boys on the island. It's interesting that we never actually learn Piggy's real name. He's just referred to as Piggy all the way through. And this is because in the very first chapter, he very naively gives Ralph the nickname that he was given in school. In chapter 1, The Sound of the Shell, when he asks Ralph's name and Ralph gives his name, Ralph never asked Piggy for his, and that's quite insulting to Piggy, and he's bothered about that. And so he confidentially goes over to Ralph and he says the following thing. "I don't care what they call me," he said confidentially, "so long as they don't call me what they used to call me at school." Ralph was faintly interested. "What was that?" The fat boy glanced over his shoulder, then leaned towards Ralph. He whispered, "They used to call me Piggy." Ralph shrieked with laughter. He jumped up. "Piggy, Piggy!" "Ralph, please!" And from that moment on, he's Piggy to everyone, even though Piggy doesn't like it. It's quite fitting that he's called Piggy, as, like the pigs on the island, all the way through he is the subject of bloodlust. He's hunted by Jack and his tribe, and obviously this culminates in Piggy's death later on in the novel. Piggy's character contributes to the theme of civilization throughout the whole novel, and this is because Piggy is the character who represents the adult world. He's constantly talking about what his auntie says and advice from his auntie, and he provides the only sort of adult voice when he says, "What's grown-ups going to think when the tribe go mad," and followed by the death of Siren, the chanting. It bothers Piggy because he thinks that's not what civilised people would do. And for that reason, he's a really good advisor or right-hand man for Ralph. Obviously, Piggy could never be a leader himself. The boys have absolutely no respect for him. But he's able to sort of whisper in Ralph's ear and give Ralph ideas as to how to control the tribe. And the boys don't like that. They don't like the idea that Piggy can influence the leader. And for that reason, once again, he is mocked. In the chapter Beast from Air, when they're deciding what they're going to do with the signal fire and the shelters, and Jack is arguing with Ralph constantly about what should be done, they decide they're going to go and hunt for the beast. And Piggy, who doesn't believe in the beast, is way too rational and adult-like to believe in a beast, is left to look after little ones because they think that's all he's good for. They mock Ralph, actually, Jack, for keeping Piggy out of danger. Ralph says, "Piggy will look after them." And Jack says, "That's right, keep Piggy out of danger." And then Ralph, who's meant to be Piggy's friend, sort of comes back with, "Have some sense. What can Piggy do with only one eye?" And once again, Piggy's there with them, being openly mocked and let off the little ones, even though it was his idea to set up the civilised society of the shelters and the signal fire. And that happens all the way through the novel, really. He also has a lot of faith in the conch being a symbol of order and civilization, and he keeps it close. He won't have a meeting without it, and he reminds Ralph all the time, blow the conch, call an assembly. When the conch is smashed later on in the novel, that signals the end of civilization, and it's fitting that immediately after, Piggy's squashed by a boulder. So the conch, the symbol of civilization, is gone, and also the character who represents civilization is also gone. And it's quite a sad moment in the book, really, but also weirdly comical, because the idea that he's squashed by a boulder is, for some of the boys, quite a comical way to go. Piggy's death is a real key moment in the book, because all the way through, Piggy is dedicated to the ideal of civilization and constantly reprimands the other boys for being savages. And his death is probably one of the most savage in the novel. When the boulder is rolled onto him, it signals the end of civilized order and the triumph of sort of brutal strength. And the language that Golding uses actually to describe Piggy's death mirrors that. The fact that he fell 40 feet and landed on his back, obviously a very painful image, and it gets even gorier when it says his head opened and stuff came out and turned red. So that sort of brutal death is described in that language to represent the end of civilized order, and brute strength wins out. Once again, Piggy is linked to the pigs on the island, who are also hunted and savagely killed. And it says, Piggy's arms and legs twitched a bit like a pig's after it has been killed. And it said that when the boulder came down, he didn't even have time for a grunt, which is another use of animalistic language there to describe Piggy. When the water takes him away, like Simon's body was taken away by the water, it once again signals that savagery has won out, which is a huge theme in the novel.